Protect your home from home. Simple Caravan Insurance, sponsors of the Caravan Channel.
Transport for London's Low Emission Zone scheme, or LEZ, is increasing its scope, which will affect most motorhome owners living in or passing through the capital.
LEZ has been in operation since 2008 and would have affected any motor caravans over 3.5 tonnes from that time. In January 2012, the standards are changing so that vehicles already affected by the low emission zone will have to meet a higher standard to drive within Greater London without paying a daily charge. And new sets of vehicles will be affected for the first time. So vans, including camper vans over 1.205 tonnes unladen, or motor caravans over 2.5 tonnes gross vehicle weight, will have to meet a Euro 3 standard for particulate matter to drive in London without paying a daily charge. The low emission zone only targets the oldest, most polluting vehicles. So for the new vehicles coming into scope, it's only vehicles that will be over 10 years old in January 2012 that will be affected by the new Euro 3 standard. So if vehicles were registered on or after the 1st of January 2001, they already meet the standard, they don't need to take any action. It's only vehicles over 10 years old that need to take action. For vehicles that are in the heavier weight category of over 3.5 tonnes, it's October 2006. So vehicles registered on or after October 2006 already meet the standard. Vehicles older than that will need to take some action. I must say that the zone has been very successful in encouraging people to clean up their vehicles to date, and we hope that vehicle owners will take the same approach to the changes next year and not pay TfL the daily charge, but rather upgrade their vehicles so that they meet the new emission standards and deliver cleaner air for London. The UK, in common with the whole of Europe, is subject to legal standards set by the European Commission for air quality. London is the only area in the UK that does not meet these standards. The Mayor has set out a plan of action to ensure that London will meet these standards going forward in his air quality strategy, but a key plank in ensuring that London is in compliance with these legal air quality standards is the low emission zone. And we are having to implement some local measures across the capital in the next 6 months before the low emission zone takes effect to make sure that we remain within the air quality standards required of us by law. So there is action across Greater London because Greater London's where the problem is. London has a whole range of air quality monitoring stations across the capital to measure the air quality of air that we breathe in London, and they collect information on pollution such as particulate matter, which has a major impact on human health. People already live in London, in common with everyone driving in London, will be affected by these standards if they have a vehicle that's in scope for the scheme.
Caravan Channel viewer Michael Jones, who lives in London, has a 1994 camper van and wants to know how LEZ will affect him. Here's what Samantha had to say.
Mr Jones has a 1994 camper, but that's a 15-year-old vehicle. That will produce 4 times as much particulate matter pollution as a Euro 3 vehicle that actually meets the low emission zone standards. And given the health impact that air pollution has on Londoners, Mr Jones included, air pollution contributed to over 4,000 deaths in London in 2008. So this is a very significant health problem. And therefore we're asking everyone who drives these vehicles, whether they live in London or they visit London, to actually look at the pollution they're producing from their vehicle. People obviously have a range of options in terms of upgrading or changing their vehicle, but there are also a huge range of approved filters. And for things like motor caravans, that's going to be far and away the most cost-effective thing to do, is to fit an approved filter onto your exhaust so that your vehicle runs as normal, but the pollution is not coming out of the exhaust at the back end, and so you meet the emission zone standards. In terms of the low emission zone, we have a network of cameras that monitor vehicles driving into and around Greater London. And we know from comparing the information on our database which vehicles meet the standards because they're newer vehicles, or they fitted filters, because if you fit a filter you have to go to VOSA, you get issued with a certificate that shows that you've fitted a filter. Things like motor caravans, although they're obviously used for leisure purposes, are held to the same emission standards as vans, create the same kind of pollution as vans, and therefore are required to take the same action in terms of curbing that pollution. The rules of the scheme are laid out on our website, which is www.tfl.gov.uk/leslondon, and we also have what we call a compliance checker on there. Literally, you just put in your licence plate number and it'll pop up. Your vehicle records, according to our database, will pop up on the screen and give you all the information that you need.